Well, a very good evening, everyone. It is once again Sunday night live, and I'm chuckling to myself already because my gosh, are my fingers crossed. I've got horseshoes hanging up. I've got all kinds of uh, rabbit foot fingers crossed. Make sure this episode happens the way we want it to happen. But this is episode number 248 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here in gorgeous South Jersey today. We hit like 78 degrees, although I've been indoor all day doing all-star games for South Jersey boys basketball. So I've been cooped up indoors, but it's a beautiful day today. But it's always beautiful in Southern California. It never rains in Southern California is what I hear. But joining me as always, the president of International Pop Overthrow Music Festival, Mr. David No Bling Tonight Bash.
Hold on.
Wait, gosh darn it. I thought I caught him on a no bling night. No.
I've had a few no bling nights, but this is the first time you've mentioned it. I still have my peace sign.
Peace sign.
You might notice my shirt, Los Angeles Vinyl Con. It was the record fair that I went to yesterday. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about those things. Every now and then you'll find a really good record there. And I don't have that many grail items left out there, right, but there's still other things that I want. But the problem is it's just so overwhelming. Even in the early bird part of the day where you had to spend a lot more money to get the early bird ticket, there was still a pretty sizable crowd actually in there. And there's just so many tables. So what I do is I go around and I look at the tables that have displays behind them.
Right.
I look. Well, first I look to see, is there anything on the display I'm really going to want? The display is going to have the rarest stuff generally, or the stuff in most demand. Yeah. And, in accord, the most expensive stuff. But if there's something I really want, I'm happy. But if it's still a cool display and there's nothing I really need, I'll look in the boxes that they have as well. But most of the tables, I pass by and they don't look really promising. And I just don't have the patience to look through a whole bunch of boxes like I did maybe, 40 years ago. So, I usually end up not finding very much of those things. And I only did find one record. It was a pretty rare one. It's a 60s folk pop duo called Gentle Souls. And hey, Tim, I think it will. And I paid $3 figures for it because you never see original copies of this. And it's in good shape. And I was able to bargain with it. That's the one good thing about those places is you can bargain with people. A lot of them have brought records some of them have brought them from a long way and they don't want to take them home. Yeah. So you can take advantage of that. One of the other negatives is that they're not really well ventilated, which if you've ever had any experience with record collectors, that can be a really bad thing, if you know what I mean. But the other bad thing about it was it was hot out. It was getting up to the mid 80s at that time. And so you get really sweaty and thirsty. And so you're forced to go to one of the vendors that has $5 lemonade and the cup is like this big.
Right.
But I needed it. I was so parched and I had and it had ice in it too. So it was all good. But man. So I only lasted there about maybe an hour and a half, if that. And so whatever. I mean, they had it again today, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go back, but didn't take.
I'm the same way in many ways. 40 years ago, I could take 3 hours in a record store and just go A to Z and have the time of my life.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of patience anymore to go to big record fair. We've just had 2 or 3 of them here in the last couple of days in South Jersey, and I just, I can't take. And the used record buying crowd is still huge, and there's a lot of people that are there. So
And still unhygienic, I take it.
yeah, oh yeah,
That's always going to be a problem, but especially because, as I said, most of the record fairs are not well ventilated.
right.
So unless you go during the winter, it's going to be. But what was I going to say about that? Nothing much, but
Oh, good. It's fun though. Yeah,
no, it is fun. And the other thing we always have in the back of our mind is there's always Discogs, there's always eBay. You can probably find this stuff there. When back in the day, if what were you going to do? You have to look in Goldmine magazine. Oh, your
man.
friend of Tim's. Okay, well, welcome, Starman Brinley.
Nice.
Speaking of eBay items, I just posted about this on Facebook, but this is a holy grail album for me that I got off of eBay. It was not cheap, but you almost never see them. It's a group called The Nits, who very quickly after just dropped were just Nits. They were really well known in their native Netherlands. They had 22 major label, meaning CBS, albums that came out in the Netherlands. They had, several top 10 hits. But this album was one that came out prior to them being signed by Columbia. It was on an independent label. I can't imagine they made more than 1,000, if that. And my friend, who was a guest of ours on Material Issues, Steve Spaz Schnee, he told me about Nits in 1991. And, their early albums are poppy enough. They ultimately became kind of out there. But this album, which neither of us knew about, I don't think, back in 91. This album is really cool, late 70s pop rock, new wave, just really good tunes. He had actually, a few years ago, he sent me the files, so I knew what the album sounded like. And yeah, you almost never see them online, but when they are there, they don't last too long, even at a price that's pretty high. So finally, I said I got to do it.
Yeah, right.
No, you're correct about that. Anyway, I'm really glad to have finally got it. The pressing is really quiet, which for a 48-year-old record, that's not bad.
Yeah, indeed.
So anyway, that was there is that. But
good haul.
As far as IPO goes, everything's moving along. I just posted the Liverpool schedule. It's on our website. I posted it on Facebook early this morning. We're really looking forward to it. Next weekend, we're going to put together at least the Glasgow lineup. We might put Stockholm together as well. So yeah, everything's moving along. By the way, this week, from Monday through Friday, it was triple digits out here every one of the days. That's crazy. It eclipsed the average by about 35 degrees and set all kinds of records. So
yeah,
it really was not. Thank God it's only 25% humidity out here. Otherwise, I don't know what we would do. But
things are changing. Yeah.
Pardon?
Things are changing. I don't remember this stuff from 40 years ago.
No, and if anything, the season seemed to be starting later than they used to. But yet this time our summer has just hit in while winter was still happening. So it's all really nuts. But who knows? In a couple of weeks, we'll probably have 55-degree days.
And we'll see
for like 4 days in a row.
The East Coast,
So we've actually drained our pool, had it cleaned. It's now refilled. We just have to find out if our filter, our chemical spreading filter is working and a few other things. And it's supposed to still be around 90 for the next several days. So looking forward to doing some swimming, fingers crossed. But speaking of fingers crossed, all right, let's give a little background here. So a couple of months ago, I think it's been already, we were supposed to have this gentleman, our guest today, as a guest, and it turned out that he was under the weather, and that happens, thankfully he felt better, and we tried to do it again a couple of weeks later, and his connection wasn't working well. He couldn't use his laptop. I think he wasn't able to charge it in time, and he was using his phone, and it didn't work. So we thought, oh God, this is cursed. But to make sure, let's do a pre-recorded episode. His laptop was working. It went off without a hitch. It was a great episode, and we were ready to show it.
It was awesome.
A couple of weeks ago, and we accidentally deleted it, trying to tweak something.
I accidentally deleted it. I'll take the hit on that one. Yes.
Okay. Well, it was deleted, and so I was the bad cop. I told our guest, we're really sorry, but it was a freak thing, and it happened. And he said, well, that's okay. Well, I wouldn't mind doing it again anyway. I didn't like the way I looked in the last one. So he's corrected that cosmetic issue, as it were. It wasn't cosmetic. It was a chair issue. And so we just spoke with him. The connection's good. Keeping our fingers crossed that this one goes off without a hitch, and that people are actually going to see it. I want to make sure. So anyone who's watching, when we bring our guest on, say, I can see him and hear him. That's what we want to find out. Anyway, most of you already know that he's the dad of the two main men of Lemon Twigs, Brian and Michael. But he's a wonderful singer-songwriter in his own right, having put out several he recorded a bunch of songs, and they hadn't been released until You Are the Cosmos in Spain, great label, put together packages of his songs. 1976 to 1983 is one of them, 1986 to 2017. And these are albums that were recorded as albums, but hadn't been released. And then the way I got to know our guest was in 1993, when Jordan Oakes of Yellow Pills reviewed an album by a band called The Rock Club. The album's called Wet Money, and I really loved it. And there was a song on it that we're going to play that I especially loved. And I was able to get his phone number. I called him at that time, and ever since then, we kind of stayed in touch. And he played International Pop Overthrow about 10 years ago in Brooklyn. And the backing band were Lemon Twigs before they were Lemon Twigs. So that was very cool. Of course, at that time I didn't know. I knew it was his kids and a friend, but beyond that, I didn't know anything. And then, of course, they start recording, they release albums, they get a buzz, and now they're touring all over the place, selling out venues, releasing just amazing stuff. But it's it all came from this man. And we're really honored to have him. Fourth time will be a charm. Would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Ronnie D'Addario?
Oops, we lost his connection. No, I'm just kidding.
I knew you were kidding. Let us know that you can see and hear us, especially Ronnie.
Ronnie, good evening. How are you?
Hi. I have my chair so that it's not going to rock.
Well, I'm scanning everything. Your chair's not rocking. Our stream is still live. Tim checked in and said, yay.
Okay. I guess we can see and hear all three of you. Yes. This is happening, folks.
We might as well just say good night and call it an evening because it's just.
Hey, Tyler. Cool.
Hey, this is something that wasn't happening last time. Actually, live people.
Live people checking in. Yeah, last time was a pre-record. There was nobody live. Yeah, now
that's
got
cool.
live comments. Excellent. Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
So, one thing we couldn't talk about last time that we can now is the album by, the boys is now done. And when is it coming out?
It's coming out in May, I believe. I don't know.
May. Okay. So not too long from now. And, they have unleashed a couple of tracks to the public, and they are wonderful. So I have no doubt that the whole album will be, and I know you told me that you think it's great. You might be a little biased, but I have a feeling we're all going to think that anyway.
I guess I'm biased, but I always, since I'm a musician as well, I can appreciate them on a musical level, other than being my kids, and which is nice because if they play me a song, and if I didn't like it, I'd probably lie and say I liked it. So fortunately, they're good enough that I don't have to lie about it. I think they're great. I'm a real fan.
That's wonderful.
And Brian was over yesterday for his birthday.
Happy birthday!
And so we were playing songs from the album. We were talking about what could be the next single, and although I think they've chosen it, but they have to do a video for it. So they're trying to figure out the storyboard and whether to be a performance video or a storyboard, or maybe both, that kind of thing. The usual stuff.
So with this new album, Ronnie, did the boys run a lot of questions through you, or play you some things and ask for your opinion that much, or are they to the point now where,
we both do. When I'm making an album, I always play them what I'm doing, because they always have really good suggestions.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, maybe you should do the snare on 1, 2, 3, and 4 instead of 2 and 4. And I mean, they get all technical. And fortunately, the way I record, which is digitally, which they record analog, I'm more, it's easier for me to make changes. Now, if they have something, and although they usually don't have anything that really bothers me, I might have something that I can say might improve it. But if they've already mixed something, analog, it's kind of, it's kind of hard to say, well, I would have liked it to do that, because then they have to go back, which they wouldn't do, because they would probably say, oh, you're nuts. Anyway, but that's fine. But fortunately, they get great results. So any suggestions I make are usually before they record.
It may be in the writing process. Ideas together. Yeah.
Now, do you discuss with them? Which songs should be singles?
They pretty much determine that. Well, that's hard for them. They ask a lot of people. Mm-hmm. The label might have a favorite, although usually the label Capture Tracks leaves it to them.
Right.
It's not like in the old days, that's your single. So they ask their girlfriends, their other friends, me, everybody,
Yeah.
When they ask you what's the biggest determining factor, is it the chorus, the hook, or something else?
It's usually an up-tempo song. It doesn't have to be, but I'd say most of the time it's an up-tempo song.
As it should be.
Whatever catchy, whatever, there might be some song that's a really great album track that I'll like better than the single. I'll think it's, has more depth or something, but that's not necessarily going to be a better single.
Right. We can think of hundreds of albums from our past and even now where the single is not necessarily the best song.
Yeah,
it's the best for radio.
As a songwriter, you tend to say, "Oh, I want people to know that I can do that." Look at all those chord changes and that's really original sounding. And but then you want something that people can hear very quickly. I mean, this is the same thing that's been going on for decades, right? I mean, it's always a hard choice. Well, it's not always a hard choice. So it might be some song that really sticks out ahead of all the rest.
But one thing that wouldn't have been a determining factor, back when we were kids, but might be now, is, you were mentioning that they need to do a video before they release the next single. Does that become a factor? Like which songs might be more suitable as a video than others? Does that become a determining factor in which is a single?
I don't think that's much of a determining factor. I think it's mainly the music.
As you said, is it going to be a performance video or is it going to be, a storyboard, something different? And that probably lends itself to the song as well. Whether they act through something or whether they're doing mostly, lip sync performance type of a thing. That's, and I think about, there hasn't been, I don't know how many years it's been since an actual band has cracked the Billboard Top 10, which is we talk about all this wonderful music that is being made out there, and of course, right at the top of a lot of power pop, pop rock fans list is the Lemon Twigs. So you just talked a couple minutes ago about, the next single probably upbeat type of thing. But if you remember back in our day, there's singles coming out that were either upbeat or there was a lot of ballads as well that were cracked the chart. My question, I think, right now is, what do you think really has the best chance for a resurgence of a band, an actual band like the Lemon Twigs, of making waves in the top 20? Does it have to be a pop or a rocker, or can it be a beautiful ballad? Can it be a All By Myself or something, type of a thing? So, I wonder what it will be, because I'm hoping for somebody.
Top 20 is anymore. I mean, the charts are all over the place. When we were younger, everybody was in the same chart. You'd hear Bus Stop, and then you'd hear Strangers of the Night.
Right.
And Everybody Loves Somebody would be in the same chart,
followed by the Supremes.
Yeah.
Followed by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody was on the same chart. I guess it was more of a community feel than now. Everybody's. There were always charts like adult contemporary or R&B, but those were separate charts. But those songs made it into the regular charts too.
Right.
So I don't know. Everything's changed, with streaming and everything. You don't even know what's. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
But yeah, it's hard to get the reaction from how well it's actually doing, because it's just so varied in every place it can be.
There's certain songs that no matter how old you are or what kind of music you like, if they're really huge, you end up being able to hear them. Oh yeah, I know that song. But then there's other songs that I have to go, where did that come from? You haven't heard that? And I go, no, where would I hear it?
Are there any charts, Ronnie? Ronnie, are there any charts out there that are tailored to bands like the Lemon Twigs? Like, I don't know, some rock and roll independent young bands chart. I don't know.
Alternative rock? I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure where a lot of people, younger crowd, even hears certain things that sell certain size venues out. I see venues in Philadelphia. They're medium to large size venues, but I have no idea who the band is, and they're sold out with lines halfway down a mile down the street. And I'm like, where do they hear where is this happening? Where's this thing? Where's it exist?
Well, we're old.
We're getting old. God darn.
No, I agree with Ronnie. We are old.
Yeah.
A
while ago.
But thank God we're tied in, so we can hear the Lemon Twigs. That's who we're talking about right now, is Ronnie's kids.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's a good question because I don't know how they gathered their following.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, there must be a power pop pipeline or something.
There is, for
Uh,
sure.
because people that like uh, melody and good songs and also rocking because they rock as well. Um, so there's got to be that. Find out where that is.
I don't know.
Well, it's part of it's the energy of youth. I mean, the kids have enough energy to do all kinds of word of mouth stuff. Plus, they're also on the most happening services like TikTok, Insta, and probably a lot that I don't even know about. And
And they've got a lot of TV shows and touring too.
yeah,
With
and I
a lot
mean,
of
they probably wouldn't even be averse to standing outside clubs and handing out flyers. Which
God,
who's done that for years?
that's what we used to do.
Yeah. But let's talk more about you right now. You're our guest. You grew up around the time I did, maybe a little bit earlier. Born and raised in Manhattan.
Yes.
It all goes back to the Beatles. I imagine you saw them on Ed Sullivan, and did that have any kind of impact on you?
Did it? Oh yeah, like everybody our age. I saw them on Ed Sullivan live, and I was in Catholic boarding school in fourth grade, and Sister Luigi would watch Ed Sullivan every Sunday, which is how we got to see it because she would watch. She didn't know about the Beatles, and then when we saw that, it was like life begins. It was so it was incredible. I would go to bed every night, humming their songs, tapping my pillow for the drum beat, and going to sleep to that every single night. And in the schoolyard, me and three other boys waiting to go to our first class, we would be doing "Please Please Me" in the schoolyard, and I remember listening to "Please Please Me" and hearing that George's harmony part, come on," was the same note while Paul's was going up. And so I started getting into harmony, and I would actually tell the guys, even though we were in fourth grade, let's do it with the harmony, whatever that is. I didn't know if I called it harmony. I just said, I know that note is different. So, and then we would go around the classrooms doing the Beatles songs. And at the end of the year, the nuns gave us the Meet the Beatles album for us to all.
That is so cool.
Yeah, to take home each weekend. When we would go home on the weekends, we would take turns taking it home. And I got it at the end of the year. I don't know how. It was just the luck of the draw.
I bet you played it to death when it was your weekend, right?
That feeling, I don't know, that feeling that you get, or that you got back then from music was incredible. It's hard to get that when you get older. I don't know. Or maybe it's because the music isn't as good. I don't know. But I get that once in a while. Not as heavily as it was back then. But, when you're younger, you're so impressionable. I was 9. And so that is quite an age to be indoctrinated. You never forget that. As my kids didn't, I laid all that stuff on them and they heard it all at once. They heard all the Beatle albums. I would CDs of them because I didn't want to give them my copy. And they would, and I also on the computer in iTunes, I would put a lot of albums on. I would put all the best of the Stones for them, Beatles, whatever, Dave Clark 5, and that they listened to that.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, Sister Luigi was very cool, but
I
don't know how well she handled it when Jackie Mason gave the crowd the finger on that Ed Sullivan episode. That may have been too much.
She wasn't cool. She used to beat the crap out of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hated her. I even mentioned her in a song from the All Gathered in One Room album, which is my latest album before the Lemon Twigs, the Written by One. It's a song called Shot in the Dark, and it's all about childhood fears, and she was mentioned.
Whoa.
That's why his knuckles look the way they do today. He kept getting smacked with a ruler.
Yeah, she
I
was
have
hard.
to ask a real quick question on that, though. So you were in 4th grade in a boarding school when you saw the Ed Sullivan performances. Were you sitting with Sister Luigi? Was it or with a couple of friends in boarding school, or were you at home? How did you
No,
see
I was
it?
in the boys' dorm, in the living room of the boys' dorm, and she was in a chair, and we were all sitting on the floor.
Do you remember her reaction to the Beatles? I mean, you remember your reaction to it, but how
I
about
don't.
no, you
I
don't.
don't remember her reaction, but in the next school I went to, I remember buying High Tide and Green Grass by the Stones. And our dorm nun then was Sister Gabriel, who was not as bad as Sister Luigi, but she had her moments. And I remember taking the album, and that album opens up, and there's big pages of each of the Stones. And I say, Sister Luigi, look at this, and she'd be like, ooh, and ooh. And then I got to Bill Wyman, and she'd say, well, he's not too bad. And, yeah, she was.
But when you saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, was it at that moment where you said, I want this to be my career?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because I was musical anyway. So that just, I bought a guitar that summer. I remember hearing it's funny, I don't remember much before the Beatles, because they were a good way of keeping track of my each year at that point. But I do remember as a kid hearing in school in 1st grade, hearing HMS Pinafore by Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah.
And I remember that got to me when I was a lad, that one. And I remember somebody playing the single of Runaway, and that was great.
Oh, yeah.
And Let's Twist Again and all those. And I remember loving I Will Follow Him. I Will Follow Him. So Four Seasons. I was in the Four Seasons, who were out before the Beatles.
Right.
So I remember liking them. I actually saw them in '64.
Oh, nice.
I was part of this great Paramount show with the WMCA Good Guys.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the Animals. This same show. The Animals, Leslie Gore, Sam Cooke, the Four Seasons, the Devotions, who did a Rip Van Winkle, the Royal Guardsmen.
Oh, wow, that was early for them, yeah.
And then the American Beatles, which was a band that really had short hair, but they combed it down. And they sang Please Please Me and Twist and Shout, because the Beatles were so big that I guess the promoters thought, we have to have some kind of Beatle thing. We can't get the Beatles, but we'll get this band. I remember being in the 2nd or 3rd row with my mother, stage center left.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't even know Frankie Valli was a guy. I thought it was a girl. That's how naive
Wow.
was.
I guess I can see that.
Yeah, sure.
And Frankie can be a girl's name too. So.
Oh yeah. What show? I mean, those types of package shows that were very popular, especially in the early '60s, but throughout a lot of the '60s. I mean, that in and of itself, what amazing time to be growing up and have access to, these acts that would come out and play 3 songs, and they would just keep going through the whole night and seeing 6 to 8 acts running through.
But did you ever see the Chantrellines or Diane Dane? No, just kidding. That's from that thing you do.
Oh, I did see the Royal Guardsmen again though, because they opened for the Rascals at the old Madison Square Garden.
Wow. Yeah. At that point, they already had some hits. So, when do you start writing songs?
I was 11. I know that because I used to write them all in a book. And they were, very simple and probably mostly rip-offs of Beatles songs. I remember doing a combination of No Reply and something else. I love you and I want to be true. I love you, please don't make me blue. Please don't make me blue. That kind of stuff.
That's
Right.
tight. It's like tell me why and no reply, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Now,
had song
where
about through a window like No Reply or something. I don't know.
Were you able at that point?
Were you really getting into more than 3 chords at the time, or was it pretty much simple things to begin?
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
I have a tape of me doing Here, There, and Everywhere, which would have been 66. So it would have been 6th grade by then. And I'm using 3 chords, which is ridiculous because they even go into another key for the bridge. Somehow I made it work. I didn't have anybody really teaching me. I had to do everything by ear. With my kids, I taught them like everything early. So it's amazing that starting in 5th grade, I should have known a lot more chords by the time I got to 6th grade. But then I started hearing that I didn't know the chords. And so I really tried to go up that guitar neck and figure out what I didn't know. And my mom would help me out with those Mel Bay books, the guitar books that they used to have. Which she didn't play guitar, but she would help me try to understand those little boxes and what those dots meant and stuff like that. So I started learning that kind of thing. I remember the first time I learned a diminished chord, nobody showed me or anything. I had to actually listen to this record, and I knew there was a chord that sounded really nice, but I didn't know it. And I had kept playing it over and over on the record until I finally formed the chord. And I go, okay, I got that. I didn't know what it was called, but
you knew that it happened at this point in the record, and this is how you make it sound that way.
And I didn't know it. Then I
Were you able at that point to record the music that you were writing?
My mom had a Revere tape recorder. And that used to be my pal. I used to do everything on that, all my songs on that. Then a few years later, when I was in high school, I couldn't stand the way it sounded, and I erased it, and my mom almost killed me. And I regret it now. The only thing that survived was Here, There, and Everywhere, and some other song that I wrote. But the other, I don't know, maybe 10 songs were gone. Although I have it written down. I have all the lyrics and the titles written down. So I know.
And at this point, do you fancy yourself more as a songwriter or as a musician?
Both at that point. I remember the first lick I learned was the Man from U.N.C.L.E. theme. The lick. Dun, 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 dun. That one. And Satisfaction. That lick.
Yeah.
Day Tripper, which I played wrong by one note. And so, yeah, because I was so new at guitar was a main thing. After a while, by the time I got into high school or a little after high school, I don't think I really kept up too much with guitar chops because I was more then really into writing songs. like George Harrison said in some interview, I only pick up my guitar when I'm recording or if I'm playing live. I never touch it. And he goes, so people that are really good on guitar, because the interviewer asked him, you're like you're the greatest guitarist in the world, and he laughed. And that's what he was saying. He was saying, no, people that really practice, and they're great. Maybe people think I'm great, but I still like my guitar playing for my own songs, though. I know what I want,
Right.
and I'm capable enough to play whatever I need to play.
Right.
But my favorite, I learned a lot during the blues period. Remember in '68 when everybody was getting into blues? My favorite guitarist was Mike Bloomfield. So I got all my blues licks going. The Super Session album.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
No, Cooper.
Yeah.
No,
and all those soul records at the time got your rhythm chops down. Those James Brown records.
No, sure. And you're at what point do you think about putting maybe a band together or playing with guys and playing out? Do you move into that in high school or what was your early venture live?
Some acoustic things with my two cousins. We used to have rehearsals in Staten Island, but that was more for fun. It really wasn't till 1975 I started working at a recording studio called Dimensional Sound. And I became, we were all working for no money, learning to be engineers.
Right.
And my friend, Paul Rutner, he was in a band from Long Island, and he introduced me to a lot of his friends from Long Island. And then I got into one of their bands. And so I would take the LIRR, Long Island Railroad, to the Wantagh station every week. He'd pick me up at his Beetle bug, and then we'd rehearse, basically covers, Beatles, Hollies, Beach Boys, some Bowie, some Bad Company. I remember we did Suffragette City, and we used to do Darlin', and so we weren't doing originals. So that's really when I started getting into bands and learning how to sing through a PA. And I wasn't in high school garage bands or anything. I was just very into recording and in my room and recording songs and using 2 tape decks to try to overdub and using sound on sound. And eventually I got a 4-track, which is what I recorded that first Taking a Show album.
So that wasn't, I was going to ask if, because you were working at a recording studio, if you had access to using their equipment to record your albums, but that wasn't the case?
Some things. There is a demo on the Taking a Show album called I Was Your Window, which is just guitar and bass and vocals. And I did that at the studio after hours. But all the other songs on that album were done on a 4-track. Again, with Paul was a drummer, and he let me play his drums because I knew all the parts of my own songs. I didn't have drums at home, but I would tap out the parts on my knees. So I didn't even get to play before I recorded. But I had my foot coordination, okay? And we used a $15 Lafayette microphone to just one microphone on the whole drum set, on one track of the 4-track, which I took home and then overdubbed to it.
Yes, friends. Lafayette was a very popular stereo outlet in the New York area. That's where I got my first cassette deck. Was a Lafayette.
Yeah,
in the mid '70s.
I think it was a store in the '40s in Manhattan.
Is that right? Wow. Okay, that I did not know.
I remember they used to sell Shamrock tape, which was the cheapest reel-to-reel tape. It was like Radio Shack type of,
right.
Well, I recorded that whole album with a $15 Lafayette microphone on my vocals, and I had a imitation Hofner bass that I got for $25. It was a Greco. I had a K guitar with the F holes, which was a $45 guitar. My second guitar. My first guitar was a guitar I got at Sam Goody's.
Okay.
Around the corner from Colony Records. Yeah.
Around the corner from what?
Colony Records.
Colony. I remember. God, you and I could probably talk about going to Colony. Boy, were their records overpriced. Oh. And the guys behind the counter were so rude. I couldn't believe it.
I would go in there and never buy anything, but I spend a long time in there because they also had all the old sheet music for everything. Right. Not that I could read it, but it was nice to see it. They did have quite a extensive collection of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they existed with the prices they.
There were probably enough. Given their location, there were enough working people and, executives and entrepreneurs who would probably go in there. And if they saw an album, especially one that was out of print and it was like $25, that was nothing to them. If they wanted it and that was the place they saw it, they probably bought it. So that's how they existed. People like us, on the other hand, it was a museum to us most of the time. I ended up buying a couple of things from there, but it's really not much. If it's okay, I'd love to play the first song on Taking a Show called Love Stepped Out, and it kind of shows your appreciation of a band we haven't mentioned yet, the Beach Boys.
Yeah, I had gotten into the Beach Boys in '71, so this would have been, I don't know, maybe recorded in '75.
Yeah,
the album was '76. So
I'm sorry.
No, I had just started really getting into that.
Right, well, it's a wonderful song. I think people need to hear it. It's on this collection called First Songs. I don't know if it's still in print, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere online. And You Are the Cosmos Records out of Spain. So, all right, we're going to get things kicked off music-wise with Love Stepped Out by Ronnie D'Addario here on Material Issues.
I was trying hard to see her, felt like I was being avoided, left a message waiting for her to call back. Went to see her, she was gone, asked her out and stumbled on some old friend I
I gotta say, I love the combination of the Beach Boys' "This Whole World" did it with the "Bop Bop Boz" of the Turtles.
Yeah.
You don't hear both in a song too often. So yeah, that's a big favorite of mine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people like that one.
And look at you on the cover. Put the cover back, Mark, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, you look like a freaking rock star.
Take
I
it.
think I look like a hippie cab driver about to mug somebody. But I hear on the record I had really not a lot of equipment. The way I got that heavy guitar solo,
Oh, that yeah.
didn't have a distortion pedal. I just blasted the meters, pinned the meters, which is how I remember the Beatles recorded those guitars in Revolution. The single,
Oh, right, yeah.
blasted the meters, and I'm using my 1969 Gibson SG Standard, which I got at Eddie Ball's on 48th Street, the Music Street.
Before my time.
In '69, $297 with case. Now it's worth $50, but
that was pretty expensive then, wasn't it?
Very expensive.
Of course, especially for how old was I? 8th grade, 9th grade. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can hear also that mandolin kind of thing. That's a speeded up guitar. On that album, you'll hear a lot of that speeded up guitar because I'm trying to simulate a piano sound because I didn't have a piano. And but all those things, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought that, well, someday I'll re-record these. These sound like demos. And then my kids said that they love that album. They like all that stuff. The fact that I didn't have stuff and that I had these strange sounds and things. And I don't know whether you would call it lo-fi today or whatever. But now they convinced me, and now I like the album.
Now, these are, I'm sorry, Mark, these are on this package. These groups of songs are just presented as albums. Were they designed that way? And were you obviously they weren't released at the time. Were you looking to major labels, or did it ever cross your mind, well, maybe I'll just release them independently?
I wasn't really a very good networker. When I went to some people, I remember going to Media Sound in New York. It was a recording studio. I used to be a church, and I took in the show album to play them because I wanted to re-record them properly. And so I was trying to get a spec deal. What was what they used to call it? They would put their, learning engineers, and give you off hours or something. I remember once we did a not for that album, but something else at Media Sound. We had Bob Clearmountain was a 17-year-old kid, and me and my friend had booked spec time, and we were recording some song with him, and he was just now he became huge, the Stones guy and everybody, but he was just a kid, and I remember he for some reason the track wasn't working, and he said, try playing less and simpler, because I was trying to do some rhythm. I can play rhythm, and he was right. So he was a good engineer even then. But I digress. What was the question? I forgot.
Well, I mean, the question was, were these the three albums? Were they designed at the time you recorded them as albums, and were you shopping them to major labels, or had it and had it occurred to you that maybe I'll just release them myself?
The second album, Falling for Love, which was originally called Wait in the Wings, but then I changed it to Falling for Love later on. That was definitely done as an album. I had these groups of songs that I had recorded on my 8-track, because I had managed to get an 8-track machine, so that gave me more flexibility. And then I booked a motel in Connecticut, a place called RBY Studios, and they transferred the 8 tracks to 16 track. And I didn't have piano or drums at home, so I played piano and drums to what I had recorded at home to save money, because I had played everything to a click at home.
I was going to say, it's not that easy to add drums to unless you're playing.
No, it's not. And even when you add a click, the theory was, well, then I should be in. But you're not. That's a backwards way of doing stuff, because even though you're playing to the click as on as you can, there's certain things when you play drums, you don't notice a drummer really going off that much if he's any good. And then but when you overdub to those drums, you slow down and speed up with him. If you've already done all your instruments, that's harder for a drummer to try to keep time, even with a click. So it worked out, but I hear things, I rushed that roll, things like that. But, I was satisfied with it. That was an album. The first album was, I wasn't thinking in terms of an album. I was thinking in terms of just getting a bunch of songs. And then they seemed to go together. So I made an album out of it. The third album was that album I consider more like demos, because I did them. That was when I was trying to write songs for maybe people who might record them. Like there was a song called "Part-Time Lovin' is a Full-Time Job" that I kind of wrote for the Pointer Sisters, because it had that da 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 da. That sounds like "Here Comes the Night," but that's not what it was. It was a whole slew of records. Eddie Rabbitt and all these people that had this Doobie Brothers had one. Mm-hmm. They had this riff always going on, and the Pointer Sisters too had one. Might have been Slow Hand. So I was writing songs like that.
What a Fool Believes. Yeah, What a Fool Believes.
Yeah. And, there was a song I wrote called "Love Up My Sleeve" that was kind of tailored for the guy that did 3 o'clock.
Who
did 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
I had a connection with his manager, and they thought that he thought that maybe I could get a song on his album. Springsteen had written a song for his album, so revised his career. What was? Come on, somebody in the chat, let's know.
Yeah.
Which song are you referring to?
Now we're talking about
Gary U.S. Bonds.
Gary U.S.
Quarter to 3.
A quarter to 3.
Quarter to 3.
3 o'clock. Okay.
That's why 3 o'clock. Gary U.S. Bonds. You're right. Yep. 6
o'clock. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yep.
So I wrote the song that was right up his alley, but then the manager says, he decided to write all his songs with his daughter. So
right.
That album. But a lot of those songs were kind of like that. That was just more of a craftsman type of album,
But even though you didn't succeed to have Gary U.S. Bonds record your stuff, you did. The first song the title song on "Falling for Love" ends up being recorded by the Carpenters. How did that happen?
Well, I had in 1980, I was sending songs out to publishers and things. I don't know why I didn't bother trying to keep pushing my own things as an artist, but I figured, well, at least I could do this. Um, and I sent "Falling for Love" to A&M Records. For the Carpenters. I sent one to their "Falling for Love" to the manager, and I sent it to their agent. So I really believe that they could do this one, you know.
Hmm.
And you know, usually those songs get to some underling and they go in the trash and or they don't get listened
Right.
to. But Richard Carpenter happened to have his cousin who worked at A&M in California who would answer the phone, "Carpenters." So that was getting to actually somebody that was pretty close to Richard. And Richard heard it and he really liked it. He even liked his cousin told me he really who's doing the song. I said, that's me. I'm doing all the instruments, the vocals. He goes, well, Richard really likes your version. And I said, oh, that's nice. And so they recorded it, and I signed the contract. The name of their publishing company was Hammer and Nails Publishing, and I got a stipulation in it that said, you know, if the song doesn't come out within 3 years, I get the publishing back, you know, because I didn't want them to hold on to it. Meanwhile, so they did the song. Karen did a guide vocal, maybe while the band was recording it. Meanwhile, she was in New York the whole time in a hospital. So, and then all of a sudden, you know,
Yeah.
she dies, and I go, whoa. And then I had the, besides being sad for her, I had the awkward phone call I had to make, which was, say, what's happening with my song?
Yeah.
Sorry, by the way. And his cousin said, Richard doesn't think her vocal was good enough. It was just a guide vocal. And now it's on a list called, Lost Treasures, if you look it up on the internet.
Oh.
It might even be on a Japanese website because they're mad for the Carpenters in Japan.
Sure.
And so he just never put it out, and I never even heard it. And
well, you've not even heard the so-called demo with her guide. Guide. Wow.
He never let it out. And it's funny because I visited Abbey Road, about 5 years ago, and I had to get out of there by 10. I was getting a tour of it. They don't give tours anymore, but because of the Lemon Twigs, who they were familiar with, they gave me a special tour, me and my wife, and I got to play, the piano,
nice.
stuff like that. And so in the studio, in the big studio, Studio A, whatever the big one is, Richard Carpenter had a session at 10, so we had to get out of there by 10. And so I was that close to maybe asking him, hey, I walked through the studio and I saw all the Carpenter's titles on the musicians' charts. What he was doing what the Beach Boys had done with the London Symphony, taking their original records and getting a arrangement of it with an orchestra and overdubbing. And that's what Richard was doing, although I think he wrote out all the arrangements and he was going to conduct. But the person that was giving us the tour said, you have to get out by 10 because Richard's coming in. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. Never did have a chance to talk to him. Oh, that's a shame.
Well,
Leave a note.
if I was a stalker, I could have waited for him, but we had other things to do.
True enough.
Yeah, but you got in Abbey Road Studios. You got to play piano that McCartney played. I
should have put "Falling for Love" on one of the news stands, one of the music stands.
Yeah,
that's true. Why not, right? So during all this time, you're recording these albums. They're not being released at the time. Are you still working at the studio, or do you have another day job?
No. I stopped working at that studio, and I started working at a film studio, which was I was in charge of the sound effects library. anytime the editor who needed sound effects, and they used to work on a moviola. You know, they used to have they used to run the film through the moviola as the picture track. Then the soundtrack would be the music running through, and then they'd have the sound effects track. So it was all these sprocketed things. That's how they kept them in sync. This was before, you know, video and digital made everything so much easier. They had to actually cut physically the tapes, and
Sure.
so I would bring the guy, get me crowd walla walla crowd noise. They call it walla walla, and then I'd go into the library and listen to all of them, and then I would EQ them if they were noisy, and then I would put it on striped film strip tape, and then I would give it to him. And then I got to be in the control room where I was actually mixing stuff. And that's what I did for a few years.
And so that was sustaining you while you're recording all these albums.
Yeah. I always managed to work and make a pretty good living. I was doing some commercials. I had some commercials running. At that time, I remember they ran in the morning during the Today Show, and then at 4:30 in the afternoon, Mary Tyler Moore reruns. They would run on that, and it was for Flora Gold Grapefruit and a competing fruit company, Sealed Sweet Grapefruit. And so I would write these little 28-second jingles, and then. It was one of the director of the. We used to do these radio shows at this film place called Film Sons, and the director used to direct the radio show. It was an hour physicians radio network that the physicians would get all the latest news, and we'd have announcers, and I'd engineer them, and we'd have all these commercials, 8 commercials in between on carts that were basically drugs. For doctors to use to try out, and so he was the one that got me these commercials, and he said, "I've got this commercial, but I don't have an idea for I don't have an idea for the commercial, so I want you to do it, but I need an idea." So I figured, well, maybe I can come up with something so that at least he could have the song. So I came up with, and he said it's a grapefruit commercial, and they want it to be, they want to advertise health. So I came up with Sealed Sweet Grapefruit, the Stay in Shape Fruit. And so I wrote a whole jingle, Sealed Sweet Grapefruit, the Stay in Shape Fruit. And it was like that. And then one day I'm watching the Today Show, and I see this commercial, but no music on it. And at the end, the tagline is Sealed Sweet Grapefruit, the Stay in Shape Fruit. He ripped off my line.
Oh, geez.
Didn't use my song. So that was my first taste of getting ripped off.
Did you contact them? Did you contact them and say, what the hell? No,
because he got me other work. You know,
yeah.
I had to kind of just be mad at him, you know. Anyway, I still have those. I should release those.
Yeah, I want to see them.
I got my anthology album when I'm 80.
There you go. So tell us about this, the Rock Club. Well, a couple of things. Number one, where did the name come from for both the band and the album? I don't even know what Wet Money is. So,
well, that was the bet. We used to play in all these clubs or bars. A lot of them were Irish bars because I played with Tommy Makem of the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem. It was just me.
Oh, yeah.
Him. He was on banjo, folk Irish artist. I was on guitar, and I toured with him all over the country and stuff like that. Did some recordings with him, produced one of his albums. And but through him, I started meeting all these Irish bands, and they knew of all these clubs. And the Irish clubs were much. We didn't play Irish music, but these Irish clubs were much better than the American clubs in the way they treated you and the way they paid you. And if you didn't have people there that night, they'd apologize to you. Geez, sorry, Ryan. You know, I wish we had more people for you. You know,
Boy, that's different.
you know,
Imagine that.
they would pay you, they would feed you, and they would, have a pint. You know, they'd give you drinks, which I didn't drink, so I had to take advantage of it. But, the American clubs, even though you would have a guarantee, which is meaning you were guaranteed no matter what, you're $100 each or whatever, $400 for your night, which is, you're lucky if you get that today. It doesn't change much.
Right.
But not that I play them anymore. But the American clubs, even though they had a guarantee, they go, listen, we don't have enough in the cash register, and well, we have a guarantee, right? And then they charge you for every soda you had, and it was terrible. So it was nice being in the Irish clubs, and except when they asked for Irish songs, and we didn't do them. But that was rare because they wanted rock anyway. I remember there was a scene. A lot of them were on Bainbridge Avenue in the Bronx. There was a scene where we're doing Imagine and To Give Peace a Chance at the end. And the whole crowd was so drunk that a fist fight broke out. And you could see the whole crowd going to the left all together, to the right. And we're singing Give Peace a Chance during this. And they're not listening to that.
So it's like some of those bad 60s rock movies. Like Ride on Sunset Strip's actually a great movie, but it's like one of those scenes where a fight breaks out and the band just keeps playing.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
Well, at least there wasn't chicken wire up front.
No.
Those were the days when everybody was smoking too. It was killing us, man. We have to put our coats and jackets in our guitar cases so the smoke wouldn't get in there.
I'd come
home and the wife would go, "Oh, you stink." I go, "Well, there's smoke all over me, you know."
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
And I wasn't even. Well, actually, I was smoking back then, but whether I was smoking or not, I stunk.
No, I believe me, I remember those days, and yeah, it was pretty awful. Anyway, so this album, I read about it. I read about it.
That's what got me into it. That Wet Money. Wet Money was a song that I wrote, and it was about we would get paid by the bartender every night, and I'd go and get the money. He'd count it out. He'd count out the 20s, and the money was always wet. His hands were always wet.
Right.
And so that's what that song was about.
Well, that makes sense.
Fill up the van. Something. I can't even remember. I'm not like Mike Love. I can't remember every lyric I remember to recite it.
Right.
But that's what that was about. Playing in clubs and the waitress liking us or not, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And that was before the days before the days of photoshopping. We had to physically make that. We got cutouts of the letters on a black whatever those things were, and then we put money underneath it. The Rock Club was a T-shirt that somebody made for us, and then we put a piece of glass over it, and those wet spots are supposed to be beer, but beer didn't show up very well, so we sprayed Fantastic on it, and that's a picture of it. That's how we made that's the flash in the corner, which I thought was cool, so we left it. Not that we could do anything about it anyway.
Yeah, it looked cool. It looked interstellar. Anyway, so I read about this album in Yellow Pills, which was at that time a new and a nascent issue, magazine about power pop, and there weren't there weren't any magazines devoted to that one genre at the time, except for Yellow Pills. And Jordan Oakes, who published it and wrote most of the reviews for it, he really, he gave it a very favorable review. And I think back in the day, artists would send their addresses or their phone numbers or whatever, and Jordan would include them at the end of the review. And I think your phone number was probably in there. But anyhow, Time Will Tell on You, which you mentioned earlier, that was a really hooky song, could have been a single. But you also mentioned that sometimes it's the album tracks that end up hitting you the hardest. And I'm not much of a lyrics person in general. For me, it's important that the lyrics sound good, they mesh well with the melodies and everything. But as far as like what they mean, doesn't normally matter. But one song on this particular album really hit home for me. It's something I could identify with in my own relationships with women. And it, every time I would hear the song, it would make me cry because of the identification. And I remember calling you one time. I was on my way to Camp Pendleton in Southern California to teach one of my psychology classes. I taught college level psychology back in the early to mid 90s, to late 90s, actually. And this was a class at a Marine base, Camp Pendleton. So I was teaching Marine psychology, and I'm on the base, and I'm listening to the song, and I was early, and suddenly I see a payphone. I said, I've got to call this guy, Ronnie D'Addario, and let him know how much I love that song, and in particular, and the album in general. And I remember speaking with you for about 15 minutes, and you were really great. And I'll never forget that. But I want to play the song right now for people who don't know it, and for people who do. I think it's one of the more poignant songs that I've ever heard in my life. And like I said, some of the people out there might be able to identify with the sentiment as well. So without further ado, here we go with Heroes Are So Easily Replaced by the Rock Club here on Material Issues.
You'll become someone else.
Again, I have to say, I can't think of one other song, and I mean, in the vast collection that I have and how many songs I've heard in my life, I can't think of one other song that encapsulates the way my relationship started, evolved, and ended better than that one. I mean, the whole idea of like feeling like you're the woman's hero, she just seems to worship you. And it's just amazing how good that feels. And then suddenly it's over and you've been replaced and you ain't getting it back. Once a woman decides it's over, forget about it. At least in my experience, it wasn't happening, and how devastating the whole thing was. And I just have to thank you so much for writing something that, I could identify with so well.
Well, I could identify with it too. That's why I wrote it.
I was going to ask you actually if you wrote it for yourself.
That was one of the. That might have been the first song. I got to see this album here. That might be the first song that I wrote. That even though I had the mind of a craftsman, songwriter, which I always do anyway, that was the first time I wrote something that was really personal.
Oh, wow.
That was real. And there were a lot of songs since then and up to today that I guess because you have more life experiences, you're not not that I don't like the ones that I wrote before that, because I think those are good lyrics. They're written with some sort of thought and poetry or whatever. But yeah, that one and a lot that followed after that were pretty personal. I remember that recording session. We only had 5 minutes left in the studio.
Wow.
We didn't want to waste it. And myself and Bob and Nick, who were in the rock club, and they had heard the song. We had actually went over it, but Glenn Robert Allen, who was the drummer, had never heard it. So that's in the beginning. That's me yelling drums. It's an echo.
Okay.
Drums.
I wondered what that was.
Yeah, and then later on, I'm yelling bridge, but you can't hear that because I thought it kind of sounded cool in the beginning, yelling drums. But yeah, he never even heard the song when he played that. That's why he's doing a little, like maybe a few extra fills that he normally wouldn't do because he didn't know what was coming up.
Right.
And maybe then it's too late. You've done your fill. But he sounds great on it. I had remixed the song later on to bring his toms up a little bit because that always bothered me. He'd start off on the snare, going to the toms. It would be da 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 da.
Yeah.
You would hear the rest of the roll. But that I could do that because I remixed it digitally. When we were doing analog, it was just too complicated. There was so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
To try to isolate things, and our friend Bob Mastro played violin on that.
Wonderful. So later in the decade,
that's one of my favorite songs as well.
I'm glad that I tapped into one that means a lot to you too. That makes my heart, that does my heart good. So speaking of doing a heart good, later in the decade, you have a couple of blessed events. You have two sons, Brian and Michael. When you had your kids, was one of your earliest thoughts, I want them to be musicians too, or did that not even enter your mind?
No, it didn't. It didn't enter my mind. It was really, just having kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Looking forward to coming home and holding them and them growing up. And but I did name Brian Paul D'Addario after Brian Wilson and Paul McCartney.
Okay.
I had the first choice of naming, and so that started to head off in a direction, and then we had Michael, and Michael was not named after Mike Love.
I wouldn't think.
Definitely not Mike Love, but my wife always loved the name Michael, so she named him Michael Hall D'Addario because her maiden name is Hall. So that's how he got his name. And Michael, when he was a kid, he used to love Ringo. He was obsessed with Ringo. And he used to say, "Why didn't you name me Ringo?"
Oh, we were this close. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, he could have started calling himself that.
Michael, he just wanted to play drums. You couldn't even get him to play guitar. He was drum crazy. Brian played drums too. He was 2 years older, but Brian also started playing keyboards and guitar and stuff. And basically, I had all the instruments around anyway, and I had the recording equipment.
And at that point, you're not really steering them towards this. They just take to
Really,
it.
they just Well, I would show them when I saw that they were interested and had good ears for harmony, and they had good rhythm. They were born with that. I knew that all they needed to know was how to do it, how to coordinate on drums. Show them a simple beat, and show them simple chords. The one finger chord on the guitar, like a G chord. All you had to use was one finger, but you would avoid hitting the bottom two strings because that wouldn't sound good.
Right.
And so that's how they learned. And to train their ear, I would do things like I'd say, the end of "She Loves You." Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a sixth chord. That's not the triad. That's a different sounding chord. And then I would show them other songs that had that chord. For an augmented chord, I would play them the beginning of "Oh Darling." Oh, I said, now that's an augmented chord. And then I would show them other songs that had that sound, and they would train their ears like that. So that's how they learned, and then they surpassed anything I taught them after that. Like so quick. They learned so quick.
Did you expose them to your record collection?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would make them CDs of all the Beatle albums, as much as would fit on a CD. Like the White Album was kind of hard to. I left off Revolution Number 9 and Long, Long, Long. Don't be offended, George fans. I had to fix that. And so that's all that would fit on a CD. Then later on, they happened to hear Long, Long, Long when they got a little older. They said, "How could you leave that song off?" They didn't say that about Revolution Number 9.
Right.
So they had all that. My cousin had made me a CD of the Dave Clark 5, the Kinks, the Animals, and Herman's Hermits. So I happen to always have that in my car, and they were always listening to that. And I remember Brian liking Herman's Hermits, and they both liked all the bands, but
Sure.
Herman's Hermits and the Kinks, and Michael tended to like the Animals and the Dave Clark 5, which makes sense as they later started writing, because Michael's songs were more hard edge and Brian's were more poppy, and although they both do both, and now they're so intertwined, is now Michael and Brian write very similar to each other. But what in the beginning, Michael was, he was into harder stuff like Lou Reed he liked, and
Wow.
kind of stuff. And that showed in his persona on stage a lot, which he doesn't do much anymore. He used to jump around like crazy and and stuff. And on my computer, I used to set up. Did I tell you this right? I don't remember. I used to set up whether I used to put the Stones, their hits on iTunes.
iTunes,
On iTunes, mostly the Pete Ham stuff, the hits, all the bands that I liked. So they were always on the computer. They would learn the computer, and they would, I would point out Badfinger, that has a guy named Pete Ham in it. I would put Pete Ham's name. Stones, Mick Jagger, stuff like that. So they went all through that, and Brian he had all the bootleg and release stuff from the Smile album, and he used to put together his own version. He knew the whole story of Smile.
Wow.
He used to put his own version of what he thought the order should be using the bootlegs. And I found out from Darian Sahanaja that he used to do that.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah.
And then Darian ended up having the actual tapes. So
Right.
he could do what he did as a child, but now, actually work with the man himself, Brian Wilson.
So did the kids ever take to hip hop or some of the darker indie rock that younger, the emo stuff or whatever that younger kids were listening to?
Not hip hop so much, although they're familiar with it and they must like some of it. They liked, I remember, My Chemical Romance, Cage the Elephant, Montreal.
Of Montreal.
They got in Green Day for a while, although at that point they had already been Green Day at that point.
Right.
And some other songs. They were into stuff of their time, along with the 60s stuff. But what eventually happened is they ended up dropping all those bands that were current to them, and they always stuck because they preferred the 60s bands.
Mm-hmm.
They found the Who on their own, and so they got into the Who and Bowie and all these stuff. Not people that I had turned them on to. They found everything, so they are more familiar with a lot of, even more than I am, with some stuff. Maybe not the Beatles and the Beach Boys or Procol Harum, although they're as familiar with it.
Wow.
But we're equal in that. I always try to get them into Procol Harum, who I love, and that was a little harder for them, but they appreciate it now, and they appreciate the original chord changes that Procol did and Gary Brooker, and so they see the talent there. Backrack.
Sure.
They love Sinatra, which I turned them on to, especially the concert Sinatra album, which is all show tunes, like mostly Richard Rodgers stuff. His version, Soliloquy, which is an amazing piece of music. And in fact, Michael and Brian were on some show where they were playing DJ, and Michael played Soliloquy, which they were not expecting. But I was listening. I go, all right, Michael.
Have they ever met Nancy?
No.
Oh.
No, we're still trying to get them to meet Paul.
Yeah, well.
We all want to meet Paul. We've gotten so close. I remember Mary McCartney took pictures of them coming out of Abbey Road one day, and I think she's familiar with them. And so we keep saying, one step away. They got to see Paul like 6 feet away. They got into that show that he did for free, that little club, because they waited online, and there's shots of them, and they're they're right in front, and he's right there. I didn't go because I didn't think I'd ever get tickets, and I didn't want to wait. I didn't think they'd get tickets, but they got them. They waited.
So
Right. Here's a question.
Mark. Yeah.
Question for you, Ronnie. If for some reason you're rounding a corner somewhere and you come face to face with Paul McCartney and you've got a minute, what do you ask Paul?
You know, this has gone through my mind. It's like everybody, you know, you want to tell him stuff that he's heard a million times before.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You try to think, gee, what hasn't he heard? Hey, I'm your biggest fan. Oh man,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you don't know what to say.
I know exactly what I would say. It would be, thank you.
I would probably say something like, I know you've heard this a million times, but you're the greatest.
You know what I would say if I met him, and he might think I'm absolutely, as they say in the UK, round the twist. But I'd say in Monkberry Moon Delight, you sang your banana was older than the rest. Well, it was actually only third oldest. I'm using a euphemism for banana there, and in the Beatles, he was the third oldest.
Yeah.
So his banana was only third oldest, not older than the rest.
Oh, that's a little.
That was my first thought when I heard the song.
He
I
was
said,
probably,
"Wait a minute." I didn't know if he was.
he probably walked away petrified.
Well, he'd think I was crazy, but that would be something he would have never heard, probably.
You know what I might say to him? Have you heard of the Lemon Twigs? Just,
Yeah.
just
That's
so
what
that,
you should say. Yeah.
yeah, just so that there's some sort of, maybe he would have an acknowledgement. Just because we always wanted to hit him. What we always wanted was him to hear their stuff.
Right.
And I always would like him to hear my stuff. You know, I mean, that might be more of a selfish thing. But I always, a minute of talking to him would be impossible. I would always I would have liked to have sat down with him and really talked music. You know, as a musician, not do the whole fan thing, which I am as well, but knowing that he's got that so much, you know, that's what I.
Well, you know what I know? You know what I really would do, actually, if I saw him and only had a minute to talk to him? I would tell him about IPO. I would tell him that the reason it happened was because of Jean Cathero, who he knows well. She worked at Lipa. She worked at Lipa for many years. And she's very, she's strongly associated with the owners of the cavern. And, Paul would come up to Lipa every year for Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts for the graduation. And he would give a talk to the graduates. So if I mentioned Jean's name, and then I would tell him, of course, I just wanted you to know that I have a brick on the Cavern Wall of Fame, which is not too far from yours. That might be something, who knows, maybe he wouldn't forget something like that.
Yeah, you always think that, is there some connection besides something like, my cousin went to see you in 76, do you remember?
Right.
It's not that kind of connection, but like a real connection where he might acknowledge something. I think what a fan tends to do is, everything about them.
Yeah.
Right.
And fans tend to want them to know a little bit about them.
Right.
Which is, and it's a kind of a weird relationship that way. I do this, I do that, just so that you know me. Which is like, you're lucky he has 2 seconds to talk to you, But anyway, because everybody wants to get at him,
Of course. What do you have there?
This is how close I've ever gotten to Paul. This is historic DNA card with a lock of Paul McCartney's hair.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I knew you had that.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that?
I actually, this company did like an online thing where you could buy a pack. It wasn't cheap, and you could have the unbelievably rare possibility of getting this card, and I got it. and I nearly, well, what did they say? Shit yourself. But I was like, son of a gun. But it's all on the up and up. It's verified, certified. Little lock of McCartney's hair, right there on this card. So that's as close as I've ever gotten. Yeah, there's something
like Beatle bed sheets.
Yeah, Beatle bed sheets. Cut those up with actual Beatle sweat possibly on it, right?
Yeah.
No, it's good. He's heard everything, and as we all are fans of this type of music, as we're fans of your music, Ronnie. Bands like the Beatles, where there's only two of them remaining anymore, and we're all aging, and it's hard to fathom a day.
Yeah.
When they're all gone, but they've left so much fantastic music, which also you have too as well, Ronnie, which is great to have your catalog of music out there for us to hear and for everybody to discover. There's still many groups and bands from the 60s and 70s keep popping up that I've not heard this before.
Sure.
And that's the magic of it.
Kids turned me on to some things that were around when I was a kid that I hadn't heard, but that they play me some things that
Can
are.
you think of a few? Can you think of a few?
There's the one. Where's the one? It starts with a T. Are they from Sweden or something?
August.
Yes.
You can't stump the mash.
Yeah. Well, bands like that, they discover, and I listen to it, and I go, "Wow, really nice songs." I know they're Beatlesque, but they have some original stuff in there. Nice chord changes and really great string arrangements. And
oh my God, their album Studio is probably one of the most underrated albums of the 60s. It's brilliant.
Very melodic.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
I had discovered a friend of mine. Well, this was in the 70s or 80s that turned me on to Stack Ridge, who I was not aware of. George Martin produced them.
Yep.
And they had some really nice songs and nice.
Oh, hell yeah. We had James Warren from Stack Ridge on Material Issues. And he was the biggest Beatle guy. His voice was kind of a lighter version of John Lennon's voice.
Oh, he had the lower one. There's the other guy that has the high voice.
Well,
right?
He sang lead on Fundamentally Yours, which you may remember that song from Pinafore days, aka The Man in the Bowler Hat. Haha. And it's the first song on the album, and that's James Warren, so that's his voice.
Yeah, and I've seen some later videos of them live, and they're great. They're playing with a female string player, and they're older, but they sound great.
Yeah. No, they're still active. They're still recording stuff, actually. Well, under the name The Corgis, which is a band that James and Andy Davis from Stack Ridge ended up forming in the late 70s, and they were very new wave, and then they went back to being a little bit more pop, and they were great too. Mm-hmm. And there's James with other people are still recording and playing it under that name. But let's get back to your music here, and this is a really great project. Songs written by yourself, which are produced by your kids. Whose idea was it to do this, and how did it come about?
Well, it was their idea 6 years ago when they were less busy and they were still living home, and they had their studio in the basement. And it was 6 years ago, because that's how long it took.
Wow.
To get the album together, because they started getting writing a lot and recording a lot of their own stuff, and then doing appearances and performing and being on TV shows, and it got impossible to the point where it was getting very frustrating. And then I started trying to help them out by trying to record some things, but I was constantly nagging them, and it got to be kind of like they were tired of being nagged, and I was tired of nagging them. And I said, please get this album out before I die.
Oh wow.
you know. Um, and so anyway, the we started out by they wanted to do some original songs, but I didn't have any. I had just finished an album. It was the first time in my life that I had all the songs that I thought were worth recorded, because I had a ton of songs I had never recorded, and that I got all done finally. And that was the Many Moods of Papa Twig album. And so I said, well, I do have some things that I never bothered to record because I wasn't very confident about them. I wrote the song when I was 15 called Tree Stumps. It's when I first got into Procol Harum. But I find myself through the years, I keep playing it. So I kind of like it, but I don't know. And they said, let's do it. So we ended up doing that song, Michael on drums, and Brian. They happened to have they were doing their own session one day for Go to School, and they had some people that were playing orchestrations. They had an oboe player, and so Brian quickly wrote out in like 5 or 10 minutes an oboe part, a classical oboe part for Tree Stumps, and that made the song.
Yeah.
That was like really nice part. And so I played bass and guitar and I sang it. And so that was the first thing we did. And then we did some little guitar folk thing that I had for years. Starts the album, instrumental. And then they said, let's do songs that you've recorded already, but we'll put our spin on it, and we're going to do it analog because you do everything digital, and we want to do it analog.
Yeah.
They love analog, I love digital. You would think that would be reversed,
Right.
You would, yeah.
but they're totally retro, and it works for them. So that's the way we did it. And towards the last, I'd say the last 3 or 4 months. No, well, now the album's been out. The last 3 or 4 months of the recording, we did a lot at once just to get it done. You know, it turns out that it was probably good that we didn't finish it the first year because they didn't have connections with some of the guests on the album.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They eventually got to know Todd Rundgren and Darian. Well, I knew him, or they knew him actually. But that was our connection to get Matt Jardine on a song. Matt DeMarco, who's got a pretty good following, who's a newer artist. He's not really that new anymore, but he's newer than Todd Rundgren.
Sure.
Sean Ono Lennon, who invited them to his house, his studio, so they got to be pretty close. He's a really nice guy. Who else is on that album? I don't have any.
I think you mentioned all of the luminaries.
Oh yeah.
I think he covered.
Yeah. And Probin Gregory, who's great.
Probin, yeah.
Yeah, he came up with his own trumpet part, and it was a great arrangement. As did Darian with his own harmonies. You know,
right.
I mean, I'm singing as well harmonies on Be Like Him, and I asked Probin to. Actually, the kids, that's the song that is the least like my arrangement. The kids tried to stick pretty close to my arrangements, but a song called Be Like Him, I had it more like a Mr. Blue Sky type thing, that kind of feel. And they turned it into more of a, believe it or not, not that they had this in mind, but when I hear it, I hear Herb Alpert and the T-Lords.
Yeah.
So I asked Probin to kind of play a little bit like that, because that's what I heard. But that was pretty much Brian's arrangement. And all the other songs are pretty close to mine. Not exactly. But I'm very happy with it.
I'm glad.
So,
Since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but since you mentioned it, let's play "Be Like Him" from the album written by Ronnie D'Addario, produced by the Lemon Twigs, here on Material Issues.
How can we make this a better world? Every man and woman, boy and girl. If you want the forest to be green, each tree must be green. Make the dream come true. It all begins with you. You got to live as he lived and be like him. You've got to do what he did to see it like him. You've got to walk where he walked to be like him. If you want to help somebody else, don't forget to first work on yourself. We're all playing in our brother's band. When you're with a friend, what message do you send? If you want to lend a hand, you've got to live as he lived and be like him. You've got to do what he did to see it like him. You've got to walk where he walked to be like him. Dressed in white, this tiny dove, peaceful, humble as he was, freed his nation using love. Oh Someone had a dream for us. She stayed seated on that bus. You know how to get it right. They showed us how to get it right. Oh yeah. You've got to live as he lived and be like him. You've got to do what he did to see it like him. You've got to walk where he walked to be like him.
Did I just cut it off accidentally?
cut it
No.
off.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
No, that was
Anyway,
how. That
that
was
was-
how you just started it again. That's all.
yeah, I know. I didn't mean to.
But
That happens all the time.
Great track. but
that,
we keep
that
it.
ending, that ending right there, Darian's harmonies. That's those very last few bars, and Probin's trumpet parts are just beautiful.
Oh, it reminds, when I hear that, it takes me right back to like Love American Style, Cal Sills, that whole just such feel good, sing along. Oh, it's just so good.
And the Bacharach, the Bacharach influence is
yeah.
unmistakable.
great arrangement, of course, Starman. Indeed.
Yeah, you
By the way,
called it right, Starman.
the album cover was done by Michael's girlfriend,
Ah,
Ava Chambers. No, Eva. I always mix that up.
and
Eva
right.
Chambers. Yeah.
And yeah, she's got her own groove.
No, Ava. It's Ava. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, she killed me.
She's got her own band, Tchotchke, right?
Tchotchke, yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, they are good. They're good good songwriters and players and very good.
And if you notice up in the tree, there's I guess this is this a cherry tree or an apple tree?
Looks like an apple tree to me.
Because there's one face that's still on the apple and the other one's on the ground.
Right. The one on the tree is Michael because he's younger.
Okay.
And the one on the apple on the ground is Brian because he's older.
That's a nice touch.
Everybody always says, in comments when they're complimenting us, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
There you go.
So that was the whole concept of it.
That's great.
Now, I should point out that this album has, this album was released last year on Omnivore Records, which is my favorite label because they also release the International Pop Overthrow compilations. Who brought it to Omnivore's attention? They are such good people, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it was Brian and Michael, and that was 6 years ago. They were originally going to release it as a double album with the album that you have and the other album being my versions of other songs, not those songs. What they thought was they were going to release stuff from the first three albums. That idea just, vanished. And not that would have been a great idea anyway, but so it was Brian and Michael that got in touch with Omnivore.
All right, cool. Yeah. Big shout out to the people at Omnivore, Brad, Cheryl, Dutch, Greg. They're all great. I really love them.
And they released Edward Rhodes' last album. So that's...
Yes, indeed, they did. And speaking of love, I mean, how did it make you feel when the kids wanted to do this tribute? Because to me, it's really touching that they would honor you this way.
It was great because they're fans of mine and I'm fans of theirs. So it's nice that they like my songs and I like theirs. It works out much better that way.
No, really, it does.
And what's really odd is that we're into the same type of music. I mean, that's I would think that we would have we have slightly different tastes in certain things, but with our main taste is the same. We all love the power pop stuff and the Beatles and the Beach Boys and they appreciate things like Sinatra and Bacharach. And speaking of Bacharach, that song that Todd Rundgren did, I See the Patterns, that was kind of me doing almost a tribute to Bacharach, because that guy's like amazing.
Well, he was for sure.
Oh,
yeah, I wanted to bring up something only tangentially related to this, but the whole son paying tribute to his father. An artist that I truly love from the 60s, somewhat obscure, Tony Rivers. He had a band called Tony Rivers and the Castaways, who actually played with the Beach Boys at one time. And then he formed Harmony Grass, who released a wonderful album in the late 60s, only in the UK. Well, actually, it was released in some other European countries, but not here. An album called This Is Us. And it's very devoted to the Beach Boys, very Pet Sounds-ish in certain spots. And there's one beautiful song on it called "What a Groovy Day," and I got to meet Tony, and he and I went to the Hollywood Bowl to see Brian play with his orchestra. And I remember saying, he was talking about how great Pet Sounds was. And I said, yeah, I agree, but I have to tell you, I think What a Groovy Day is as good as anything on Pet Sounds. And he was absolutely floored. Of course, an artist who reveres a band, they're never going to think that their songs are as good as that band. So he was just absolutely floored. Well, the next thing I know, I then get to meet his son, Anthony, who is also a musician in his own right. And I'm releasing the International Pop Overthrow Volume 4 compilation. And Tony says, we really want to be on this album. I said, what do you mean we? He said, well, me and Anthony. I said, okay, what do you got? And he said, well, we got a new version of What a Groovy Day that Anthony put together and invited me to sing on. And it was a little bit updated, but certainly had the same similar elements and paid tribute. And every time I hear that song, it makes me feel so good, because this is a son paying tribute to his dad by recording one of his songs and then having his dad sing on it as well, kind of like what happened with you. So when I see, and I don't have kids, so maybe I'm living vicariously through this, but when I see kids paying a kid or kids paying tribute to their dad, I just think it's the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
And by the way, you should know Tony. You should know Harmony Grass, and so should the kids. If they may already know them, but
they might know them. Yeah.
Pardon?
They might know.
They might know, but if they don't, and you don't, both of you need to hear that album. This Is Us.
Yeah, I agree.
Which you'll find absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, fantastic.
So
this,
go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, Ron, this album that we're just played from, that's still available. All the usual places, I would assume, Amazon and Bandcamp and things. I've been running your banner across the bottom, RonnieD'Addario.com. I don't know if it's accessible through there as well, but it's your website for a lot of information on a lot of your stuff.
I see some of the questions. Somebody just asked about, is the hole in the tree?
Oh yeah, that was Starman. He wanted to know if the hole in the trunk is meant to look like the shape of an ear intentionally.
I never noticed that. Wow.
I never noticed it either.
Look at it. Kind of looks like an ear. I thought it was somebody holding a high note.
It kind of looks like a mouth or an ear.
It looks like a body part, but
I'll have to ask.
Good one, Starman. Yeah, see, we got pictures with interesting questions. I love it.
I would certainly recommend that people who like this kind of music go out and buy this album while it's still in print. It's available on CD and vinyl from Omnivore Recordings, and it's excellent stuff. Let's close with this, Ronnie. So the kids are ready to. They're going to be embarking on a pretty big tour all over the U.S. And I see that they have different acts opening for them. And one of the acts is one, as you know, from Detroit. Nikki, hey. Nikki Coro. Nikki Coro is from Toronto, and he played our International Pop Overthrow Festival in Toronto last November. I really love his music. Nikki, hopefully you'll play it again. You were great. He has a lot of personality on stage, too, I have to say. He's a performer. Anyway, this band from Detroit, who a lot of us recently discovered, called Mod Lang, named probably after the Big Star song, but truly a great power pop band, is, for sure. How did that end up happening? That Mod Lang is being part of this tour.
Oh, I don't even know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I saw that the Rubinos were opening for them somewhere.
They are opening for them in San Francisco. I think one show.
Yeah. No, I don't know much about um, that opening act.
You ought to listen to them. I
No
mean,
more than I do about it.
no, they're really good. Their new album's excellent. It's very traditional power pop. It's obviously something that your kids can identify with, and I think you will like it a lot. I'm wishing them every time a young band is coming up and doing this kind of music. Oh wow!
Thank you.
Every time a young band is coming up and doing this kind of music, I really root for them because the more bands start having momentum, making their mark, the more labels and other people in the industry are going to be open to other bands doing it, including some that might be a little older but are just as good. So, I'm really rooting for Mod Lang as well.
Yeah, it would be nice if that sort of music was the most popular music of the day. That would be
Well,
nice.
it's got certain things that are always going to be with us that will never die. Melody, harmony, and hooks. Those things are going to come back, in my opinion. I mean, we're just in a different cycle now, but things tend to be recycled also. And I think that kind of stuff that sticks in your head is going to come back one day. And so I'm glad to see more young bands are doing this.
I guess they're out there, but you don't always find them. Maybe college radio. You hear some things, and you go, "Oh, I kind of like that. I didn't know that kind of thing was even happening. Maybe I'll check them out." And then sometimes it's the only thing that is any good, or
Right.
sometimes they have more things. So, uh,
It's hard. My wife and I, especially her, painstakingly go through lists of bands that we find by doing searches on Bandcamp and what have you.
yeah.
And there are tons. I mean, there are literally hundreds of bands from around the world that are doing something akin to power pop, but most of them aren't young. So they can't catch the kind of buzz that the younger bands can, which has always been the case. I mean, even in the 60s, I mean, the bands who were hitting it big were younger. Of course, rock and roll was in its infancy then. So there weren't too many older bands doing it. But, even into the 70s, I mean, there were exceptions. And this was before video killed the radio star. So, labels could market bands who were in their 30s as anything they wanted. And it didn't matter as much.
Well, it seems like there was a period where actually bands that were older were getting signed. People in their 30s as
There
being,
were.
and it wasn't always like that. I mean, it's such a pressure for, and I'm sure there's musicians out there. It's such a pressure on musicians with rock and roll, which is, or it always might have been like this, even with standards type singers, where you have to make it at a certain age. And there's another year went by and I didn't, and I'm not a huge star. There's another year, me and my friends in bands, we used to have this joke: we have to make it by 19 because George Harrison was 19 on Ed Sullivan. Oh, we didn't make it yet. We have to make it by 20 because Paul was 20. Oh, we have to make it when we're 23 because John and Ringo were 23. And then it got into Hurricane Smith. We better make it, who was 48 when he had that hit. And
Babe, what do you say?
Maybe Rodriguez, he was like in his 70s. It's a horrible pressure,
Yeah.
And I remember my kids saying, "Oh, we have to make our Pet Sounds by the time we're 24." That's what Brian was. Paul was 24. We did Sergeant Pepper. We have to get our, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'll bet it is, Nikki. I mean, you're still you're still a young man, to quote Tower of Power. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure to you.
How old is Nikki? How old is Nikki?
Well, let's see if he tells you. I mean, I saw him play, and he strikes me as someone in his 20s, but maybe I'm wrong.
I know a lot of talented people that they should have been out there.
Yeah.
But luck of the draw. With me,
Brian, meaning your son, I assume.
Yeah.
All right, so he's still in his 20s then.
Yeah, we had Brian over yesterday for his birthday. He was 29. I couldn't believe it. Do you know they've been doing it? They got signed to 4 AD when Michael was 15.
Wow.
That's how long they've been doing it. And
it doesn't seem that long. It really doesn't. It doesn't seem, but yeah, time
and
flies.
I always think of them as still my little guides. That's how
you probably always will.
Yeah. I had a little bit of issue. And I'm talking about when I say talented people that didn't get out there. And they were not only talented, but they were pretty good at networking. And they really tried. My situation was a little different in that I had a bit of an issue with singing in front of people. I had a bit of a phobia. I went to hypnotists. I went to therapy about it. I just could never get out there. If somebody was ever interested, my first thought was, "Oh God, I'm gonna have to sing in a studio." I always got nervous, and I'm so glad my kids didn't get that.
Yeah.
Most people don't have it. Most people, they can be horrible, and they're out there and singing, and like they're great, and I just never. That's one of my big regrets. So I could say that, these damn record companies and all this stuff, what do they know? And which to a certain extent might be true, but I caused a lot of that myself by just being in that. I blew some opportunities, some big producers that heard me do harmonies and then got me into a studio because they wanted me to do harmonies on their stuff. And I froze. My voice would quiver. And, that's a little personal thing I'm sharing with you that I don't know if I've ever shared before publicly. But, it's kind of a drag.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, believe me, it's hard. I mean, I knew as a graduate student that I wanted to teach. But the first time that I taught a class, I was so nervous that I literally probably looked at the board 80% of the time. I barely could look at my students. Finally, I did. My eyes met a woman in a class, and she looked at me with the biggest look of abject pity for me. And I wanted to fall into I wish there was a hole that could swallow me up. I was determined, at that time. I said, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to have to get over this. And it took me about a month, but after a while, I started getting more comfortable. You just have to overcome the initial fear, do it, and then just keep doing it.
I admire teachers that get up and they have the gift of gab. They can just do it. I've had this since I was a little kid. I remember I was in a school and I was singing, something to myself. Nobody else was in the hallway. There was echo. And a nun heard me. She came up to me. Oh, we're doing the Christmas play, where the three wise men, they bring out gifts to Jesus, right? And you could do myrrh. You could myrrh and frankincense. By the way, what I just sang, I could not do years ago. I couldn't even do a note. And I said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how phobias develop. I don't remember anything that was traumatizing. I also have claustrophobia. I don't remember anything happening to me about that either.
Yeah.
I went for an MRI today, and I couldn't handle it.
Did your wife give it to you?
No, she wouldn't even come with me. But then I found out that they have open MRIs.
Oh,
They're just not. They're not as concentrated and clear, and not as good as the more enclosed. I've had 12 MRIs, and
Oh, really?
10 of them I had a big problem, man, and had to be medicated. Just to
Yes.
it freaks me out.
Well,
which
you
is
know
funny
what?
because I've had plenty of them too, and it's like bring them on. I kind of like the idea of being protected by the thing. I don't know.
Oh my God!
It's weird.
It was not only was it a small MRI thing, but you had to put on this apparatus on your head.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
And,
Oh,
and he said, "Let's do a test run." And
man.
the minute it moved, I would stop. I can't handle this. So, but you say it's not as good. There are some imaging places that only have the open MRIs.
But it's getting better.
I-
It's getting better. But
I know those maybe are the older machines.
yeah, could be.
I don't know. So I rescheduled, and unfortunately, I didn't get prescribed Xanax in time. I
Oh,
might
boy.
have been able to handle it, but yeah, it was really depressing.
Yeah,
Damn.
I
Bet
know.
you didn't think we'd be talking about this when we started the interview.
Well, we talk about anything. That's
No,
why.
I know.
That's why.
And it's
you-
really been fun, Ronnie.
your show
Thank
is
you.
great because you can really, get into anything with you guys.
That's what we try to do here, and we really appreciate all of your time. Almost 2.5 hours. It's been thoroughly enjoyable, and finally it happened. That's right. It's never going to go away now.
And there's Tim saying, "I'm so glad this interview finally happened. We
Yeah.
just got that. It was one of the best. Thank you,
Nice.
Tim."
Nice people out there. Thank you.
Yeah, there really are, and you're certainly one of those among them. So,
Thanks.
it's been great getting to know you over the years, and thank you so much again. And best of luck with the kids and their tour and the new album.
Thank you, Starman.
Yeah.
Our pleasure, Starman.
Mark, David, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And
It happened as soon as we exit tonight. This whole interview is already gone live, but it'll be out at materialissues.com in the archives for everybody to watch at any time. And we really appreciate it. What a great interview. As Tyler said, only on Material Issues. Thank you, Tyler.
that's right, man.
I should have put a camera on my screen just in case, like a kinescope, like the honeymooners, the lost episodes would
Oh yeah,
All right.
but and then we would have had something.
right.
Great.
By the way,
Ronnie,
nothing more touching than the episode where Ralph and Alice try to adopt the kid, and they think they
Oh,
have it, and then they don't. Oh man,
a lost
so
episode.
hard to watch. Huh?
That was a lost episode.
That was a lost episode. Yes.
yeah.
They're definitely not as good though. The lost
No, but
ones.
that one in particular though was really. I never saw Alice show that kind of emotion before.
I'll have to look. for
Normally
that.
she's just annoyed at Ralph normally, but this time it was like, it was so sad.
Wonderful.
Anyway, have a great rest of your night, and we'll stay in touch. And thank you so much again. And say
Thank
hi
you.
to the kids for us, please.
Sure will. They might be watching right now. I did tell
I
them.
hope so.
Good deal. Thank you, Ronnie. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Wow.
right.
Well, it finally happened, and it was worth the wait. I think, this one. I mean, we had a lot of fun doing the other one that was deleted, but this one was even better
Yes.
because we started getting into some really personal stuff, and lasted about the same. It's about the same length, maybe a little longer. But
So yeah, we got it in. Made it happen.
every second was like gold. What was I going to say? So yeah, we have some stuff coming up. And we'll certainly have more. We have more in the pipeline. But next week, we are going to play a bunch of songs from new releases, including, I mentioned Mod Lang earlier. I have their album. We're going to play a track from it and many other things that have been released recently and will be coming out in due time.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can do another episode of Beat the Bash. For those of you who don't know, Mark came up with a game called Stump the Bash, where essentially he asked me questions about big Billboard hits from certain years that ended a certain chart position. And I have to, and you build up a certain amount of points. And if I get a certain amount, I'm not stumped. But if I don't, I have been stumped. But last time we did a new variation that also Mark came up with called Beat the Bash, where we had other people playing against me, and the questions would be presented on the screen, and people who were playing would text their answers to Mark. And anyway, it's a little convoluted, but once you start playing, you get the idea. So anyone who's on this week, you're certainly free to play along with us. It'll be next Sunday, March 29th at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, etc. We'll play new music for about an hour, and then we'll play Beat the Bash for probably another hour. So that should be a lot of fun.
And if anybody beats the bash, we're giving away some Pop Detective Records releases. So get on here and play. And if you
Pop Detective being your label, it says so right there.
My label, popdetective.com. So if you beat the bash, I'm going to mail out some Pop Detective Records CDs to you. So that's a little incentive to come and try to win this thing. Yeah.
And speaking of Pop Detective, the following week, among our guests will be somebody who has had a release on Pop Detective.
Well, yeah, on April 5th, it's actually, Frank Sessich has been in the Deadbeat Poets, who have a number of releases on Pop Detective. But April 5th is going to be all about his first band, Blue Ash. And Blue Ash has a brand new release out called Dinner at Mr. Billy's. Now, Blue Ash, with Peppermint Studios, has been one of the most prolific songwriters and recorders that I've ever come across. They've got hundreds upon hundreds of unreleased, fully realized recordings from Peppermint Studios throughout their years. And this brand new album, Dinner at Mr. Billy's, features a lot of those recordings. So on the 5th, we're going to have Frank Sessich and Jim Kenzer of Blue Ash going to be on the show, and we're going to talk strictly Blue Ash. We're not going to get into the Stiv Bators years and the Deadbeat Poets, because we got a new cool release from Blue Ash. So looking forward to that. Frank's been a very good friend of mine for a very long time, and if anybody knows Frank, he can turn a story. And
he really can. We had him as a guest on Material Issues a couple of years ago, and it was very, very entertaining. And one of my biggest thrills at International Pop Overthrow over the years was when Blue Ash did a couple of reunion shows. One in Philadelphia at the Khyber, and one in their hometown of Youngstown. The one year we did it out there at Cedars, right? That was the name of the place.
Yep, Cedars. Yep.
And those were absolutely great. And so it'll be wonderful to see Frank and Jim again.
Yeah, they're just wonderful people. And of course, Blue Ash, if you're a fan of power pop, they're about as classic power pop as it gets. And they just have so much great material that's still yet to be released. And that's kind of what they're doing over the next few years. They're going to start.
That's great news.
Of that. So this new release is going to be on CD, which is coming out soon. The vinyl's already out. It's on vinyl in, I think, 6 different colors.
Whoa.
Vinyl, like not just one or two versions with the color in black, but there's like 6 different colors on vinyl.
It's amazing.
It's
collect them all. I think I'm going to have to.
collect them all. So that's that's April 5th, and of course after that, nothing concrete. But you know how material issues go. We're feast or famine. We'll go from having 1 or 2 dates booked to having like the next 2 months booked. There are items in the fire. David and I both have, great things poking around. So you never know. Subscribe materialissues.com. David sends an email out if you subscribe to the Facebook page group as well, and he lets you know on Friday what's happening on Sunday. We don't spam. It's a lot of fun. But
right.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to everybody. A bunch of new folks this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll continue to see you. And again, next week, if you want to play along with Beat the Bash, you can let us know. And it was really a lot of fun.
Come on in live. And what I'll do is, if you come in live, I will send you the phone number to text me as we play, and it's going to be a lot of fun if we'll run that again next week. So good. Thank you, Starman.
Yeah, we really appreciate you for sure.
Good deal. Well, another great material issues, a long one, 2.5 hours,
and it finally happened. So I want to thank Ronnie D'Addario again, and thank the gods of technology who finally let this come through.
Hey, David, quick question. We before we went on air, we were talking with Ronnie, and you and I were talking a little bit about, I can't remember certain things or this or that. I wrote something down here. As we age, and we're aging, people age. That's the beauty of growing old, is that we get to be here. What bothers you more? A little like the mental acuity where you can't seem to put your finger on something, or is it the physical dexterity where you can't do some physical things as well as you can? Me personally, I'm starting to get bothered more by the physical dexterity, like tripping over something, or I don't concentrate on holding a bottle and I just kind of drop it because I'm just not thinking. Things that never would happen when I was younger. That's starting to annoy me a little bit, but we see them both, the mental side and the physical.
Yeah. No, I mean, one thing that really annoys me now that would never have happened when I was younger, if I don't lift my, and this is coming with age too, I don't lift my legs a lot while I'm walking. I'm not really shuffling a lot. I'm not exactly shuffling, but I'm not lifting as much. And if you're a couple of times I've been walking on some very jagged, uneven sidewalks, and I end up tripping on a stone that's raised higher than the other ones. Yeah. And I can't get my balance, and I end up and I have to say, no, which is like my way of saying, please, to God, please don't let me fall, And, but one time I remember when we were in Liverpool, we were walking back to our hotel, Rena and me, and I ended up tripping just like that. I didn't lift my leg enough, and I hit a stone that was raised, and I just went flying into a parked cab. And thank God I didn't get hurt. I didn't get badly hurt. I did have some bruises, and I think I may have ripped something in one of my clothing, but I just felt like so helpless at that time. I mean, the cab driver who was standing outside his vehicle, and Rena, they came up to me and helped me up. And I'm just thinking, God, what an old man I am. This is awful. I mean, I can't believe that just happened. And it since then, it's almost happened a few times.
Yeah.
I somehow by saying no, I end up not falling. But it really is. It's really troublesome. But having said that, that pales in comparison to when my mental acuity is not what it was. And the most frustrating things are, and this happened when we were playing Stump the Bash, and I knew that the song you were questioning me about was by the Stylistics, and I could think of every other song of theirs except the one that answered the question. And it was one I knew as well as all the others, but it wasn't coming to me. And that would never have happened in the past. And things like that happen to me now all the time, where I can think of all the background, anything even tangentially related to whatever I'm trying to recall, and I can't recall that thing. And that, I mean, that really bothers me a lot. So I'd have to say, I mean, mental acuity, that's always been the most important thing to me. My intelligence, my knowledge, all of that stuff was always way more important to me than any, not even talking about physical prowess, but even just doing the basic physical stuff. So, I used to say, if I go, if I had, when I was a kid, we used a different term, but I would say, if I ever go senile, just shoot me. I don't think I feel that way now because, my dad went through dementia, and he seemed okay with it. And maybe I would feel that way at that time. But right now, I feel like if that starts happening to me, I don't know how much longer I want to be here.
Well, you know what? We talk psychology of a lot of different things many times, you and I. And my dad went through Alzheimer's and dementia and fading away, and we laugh and say, well, I don't know that I'll be that bothered, because generally you don't know that you have what someone tells you that you have, and you don't then remember that they told you have Alzheimer's.
Right.
Every hour it could be brand new, and you're not even realizing what you don't have doesn't exist anymore. So it's a weird way of looking at it all. But many times my dad was as happy as can be, even up to a week before he finally just didn't open his eyes anymore. But because I don't think he realized what he wasn't remembering,
No, and that's the same thing happened with my dad, and it happened with Rena's grandfather. I met him near the last stages of his life, and he was in a home, and he couldn't even remember what his daughter did for a living. Sometimes he couldn't even remember her name. And yeah, well, that's for sure. And her grandfather just seemed, it didn't bother him at all. He was as happy as a clam. Maybe in many ways happier than he had been, because the less you know, obviously, it's not even ignorance is bliss, but the less you know, the less stressed you're going to be by all kinds of things. So basically, he had no pressure on him anymore, and nor did your dad or my dad. I mean, that's one of the benefits of that kind of thing. But I also, of course, saw an LA Law episode where one of the attorneys had been mentored by a brilliant judge played by Eli Wallach. And he started, this was early on in the process when he was starting to display signs of dementia. And, it didn't appear to other people that it was bothering him. But one time she's in the courtroom and he says, "Excuse me, I've got to go back to my chambers." And the next thing you know, you hear a gunshot and he's killed himself. So I don't know what to think.
Only on material issues.
But I know. I mean, I get the sense that it's coming. I mean, it's in my family. Yeah. My dad's mom had it. My dad had it. My mom's parents didn't live long enough to where it would have manifested that much. But it's I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. And God knows I don't know what I'm going to do.
And we'll be here. We'll be live on the air when I go, "David, there's something I got to tell you. You've lost it." And you'll be like, "No, I haven't." "Yes, you have." And you won't know.
If they know I haven't, Steve, Charlie, damn, what's your name? I think I know you.
Lord, it's something. But you know what? We enjoy ourselves while we're here. We're living in the moment. That's the way I always look at things.
Well, that's how you live. I wish I could. I'm so jealous of you. You have a lot of great qualities, Mark. But if there's one thing that I'm actually envious of, is that you can live in the moment.
Yeah, not till next week, Tim.
Now, I promised him I don't plan on committing suicide by next week. As long as the gods let me, I'll be here. So we'll play. You can play Beat the Bash against me, and maybe you'll win this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Join us and
yeah, I am so envious of that. You know, you're very chill. You know, you say it's all good a lot because and that dovetails with your philosophy. And I can't do that. I'm a big worrier. Always have been. Probably always will be. And so yeah, I wish some of your attitude could rub off on me. But at this point, I can just say I'm really envious. Good on you for having that.
That's why we spend 2.5 hours on a Sunday night hanging out together. So we just
That's true.
What we're doing, you know.
I do forget my troubles while we're doing that.
There you go. Well, another great show, David. Ronnie D'Addario. What a great guest. Next week we're going to listen to some great music that David's going to have queued up for us. We'll do a Beat the Bash. The week after that we'll have Blue Ash, Frank Sesich, and Jim Kenzer, and Material Issues.
Well, who knows? We don't know, but we're certainly investigating.
Yeah, this was episode number 248, if you can believe that. 248 episodes down, and more to come as we march towards 300. Holy cow! That'd be
absolutely.
All right. Well, love Dorina, and we'll see everybody next.
Jazz and Audie and everyone. I think his name's Audie. No, just kidding. And everyone have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this many hours. And we'll hopefully see you again next week.
Good night, all.
Good night.